and welcome to Our Time. I know you're intrigued.
I am.
It's a star.
When did you hello, by the way, hello. When did you become a star?
Well, I did on the weekend. My son got married. Very happy
You're
day.
not old enough to have a son, old enough to be married,
I am.
surely.
I am.
He's 48.
Anyway, the
bride, your now daughter-in-law's mother.
And I actually managed to get the two of them together because her mother and I have been friends for a long time, and somehow, anyway, we were both...
matchmaker, make me a
But
match.
during the ceremony, they both gave us a gold star, which I thought was very sweet.
That's brilliant. Congratulations,
Well,
mother of the groom.
Groom.
Do you know, Janice, if you... Well, for example, if your son had been born with a disability... Things have changed in the government, and the new disability, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, has now become. How to explain this? It's now become.
Shall we introduce our guests so that?
Well, I was going to do that when they answer, but yes. So, a very special welcome to Our Time to Mark Kalinsky
and to Sula Douglas.
That's right.
Okay.
Thunderous clapping from the audience.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Now, what I'm fumbling around trying to explain is that, say it for me, would you?
The National Disability Insurance Scheme.
Right. Has now been...
is being implemented as we speak.
Well, I don't know. I've been dazzled by the star and the mouth don't work anymore. So what are the real changes? How is this being rolled out and how is it happening?
So basically, a few years ago, the government decided to change the way disability services are run. Originally, government would make the decision of where people would live and how they would get services. Now the government said, we can do this better, we can do it differently. Let's give the person with a disability the money to make the choice of how they want to get support.
Right. Which government actually made it happen or thought of it in the first place?
So it happened back with the 2020 summit with Kevin Rudd. The idea was floated then, and then Julia Gillard brought it in to play, and now the government's rolling it out. By both sides, the government said this is a really good idea to value
people. Did actually agree on something.
Yeah, they did agree. So that was before it got a bit rocky, but you know, it's a great thing for people with disabilities to value them and show everyone else in the community that they have something to contribute, and they become bosses. You know, they tell people, we want to employ you. And this is what we want you to do for us.
Okay, well that makes sense if the person knows exactly what their needs are, but what if they don't know what their needs are?
That's a really great question, Malcolm.
I know, I always ask.
Stop it.
In terms of that, though, in a lot of instances, especially with our clients, we find that they have a really strong network of family and carers around them. And where there may not be that network, unfortunately, there may be an advocate group. And in a lot of instances, again, even with our clients, we find that we do a lot of that advocacy for people directly.
Right. So, I mean, we would, if again, like I said, if your son had an issue,
it's just where do you
you'd be
start
lost, really,
then?
wouldn't
yes,
you?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't know where to begin.
And who do you approach first in that instance?
In terms of South Australia, so we're going through implementation now, and the way the National Disability Insurance Scheme is varies in terms of its implementation across Australia. But if we talk about South Australia specifically...
Well, let's just have a look at where it's being implemented.
Great.
Because this map will really make it clear.
So if you can look on the map there, depending on where you live in South Australia will depend on when the rollout is for adults in South Australia, because we've already had children and young adults start to be rolled out. So for example, if you live down in Mount Gambier, as of 1 October this year, you'll be finding the National Disability Insurance Scheme rolled out. So that's when people can register, check their eligibility and start to apply and plan for the NDIS.
Great. And this is obviously for a closer look at the Adelaide... Oh, that's not metropolitan area, but it's close to Adelaide.
Well,
but across Australia, obviously, this is being rolled out in every capital and every state.
Every state is being rolled out and in different ways.
So is there a website that makes it clearer for people to understand?
Very much so. So they've people have got a couple of options. They can go to our website, which is claust.com.au. We've got information around the NDIS, or ndis.gov.au has a lot more information, and people can check their eligibility online as well.
Now, when we say your website, you're from?
We're from Community Living Australia. So we're a specialist disability service provider here in South Australia.
But also, Mark, who was saying earlier that it's difficult for people to change. You know, when you actually you get to that certain age where you know everything's working as you expect it to work, and then suddenly somebody throws a spanner into the works, and it's, why are they doing this?
There is a lot of fear out there at the moment because of change, and people, you know, generally people are afraid of change. They don't like it. And particularly with a lot of carers and people with disabilities, they've set the services up under the old system the way they want it, and there's fear that they won't get the same. You know, when there's government changes, all of a sudden it's going from a state-run, government-funded system to a federal government-funded system. They think, okay, what are the politicians going to do to change it?
Where are they going to cut back?
Where are they going to cut back? And it is an insurance scheme, so, you know, there's going to be some pressures, but everyone will get the service that they need.
And that they're used to?
That they're used to. They might even tweak it themselves. And that's what I think will happen. And it's really important. Change, to me, provides an opportunity to make things better. And I really believe this scheme will make things better for people with disabilities if they play the system right. It's a system to play.
But you made an interesting point there. You believe that it will be. And there's two sides to this. There are the clients and the providers. So will this help the providers as well as the clients?
It's actually can be a bit tougher for providers, because if they're not doing a perfect job, clients or their families might decide to go somewhere else.
Right.
So all of a sudden, we also, as a provider, we don't get funding up front. We get it after we provide the service. So we need to be able to carry debt.
Right.
So in a not-for-profit world, that's a new way of doing business.
It is. Well, yes, it is. And it's very much the way things are at the moment, that everybody's carrying debt and waiting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you think, will the government get it right in processing the payments, do you think?
Look, there's already been some hiccups in the trial of it, but they will get it right. Again, I believe in the system. We need to make it right. If some service providers go under, they do. There will be other service providers that will step up and, you know, take the lead.
Well, we're talking about service providers, but what sort of services are we talking about providing?
So there could be accommodation support. Some people live in group homes where there might be 4 or so people living together.
How would that change or not?
Well, it might mean that a person with a disability will pick us to provide the community connections or the domestic support or personal care support in the group home.
That's to break it right down, that could be for cleaning?
Could be for cleaning.
Could be for visitation? Yeah,
it could be going out to be part of their communities. It could be to support to go to work. Social, recreational events, those sorts of things. Could be going to school. And getting there, those sorts of things.
See, it's interesting when you see the acronym, what is it?
NDIS.
Thank you, National Disability Insurance Scheme. When you see that, the world is full of acronyms, and the acronyms are a bit frightening within themselves, because you think, well, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Unless you are actually connected with this, because you have somebody who needs the assistance, you wouldn't really know what it all means, would you?
No, you wouldn't. It just can be confusing.
Well, we've heard it talked about forever from all the politicians you've just mentioned. And you sort of think, well, is this actually happening or it isn't?
Yeah.
But clearly it is now being...
It's happened. It's being rolled out. It's over a systematic approach, because they can't just double the workforce to get ready, because there's going to be double the amount of money supporting people with disabilities across Australia.
But can we get the internet on it? Because that's been a bit delayed around the country.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'm being facetious, but in real terms, do you feel that it's going to run smoothly, that people are really going to be able to access this properly?
There'll be some teething problems. There's always teething problems with new systems. It's about us making it right and standing up and saying, you need to change this, the agency, the National Disability Insurance Agency that's running the scheme.
Right.
And working with them to make sure they get it right. They're working pretty hard to roll this out in a very quick time frame.
Right.
And they will get it right as long as we're there supporting them and pointing out where they need to improve.
Yes, and I guess that's the other point that's necessary. It's it's an affiliation in a way, isn't it?
It's a
between
partnership.
the providers and
Not-for-profits like us, we're in the business to provide good support to people with disabilities because we want them to be valued citizens and have good support. We're not doing it because it's about making money. We don't make profit. We pour it back in to providing better support.
People.
And what keeps both of you getting up and going to work every day?
Oh wow! I personally, actually came from the financial services sector. So for me, it was about I had a very strong community services bent, and after having 3 children, it was pretty hard to do the volunteering. So for me, it was about combining giving back to community, having a really challenging and fulfilling career, and being a good role model to my children. Knowing they had to work for whatever they wanted. So, and seeing the changes that we make to clients' lives is incredible.
Rewarding for you.
Very much so.
For you?
There's not that many jobs where you can actually help people to achieve their dreams and their goals. You know, I think to work in the disability sector or the caring sector, to help people to achieve just one goal is a really important thing
Pretty
that anyone
amazing.
can do. You know, you can live on that.
Yes.
Okay, last thing to say. So if we want more information, how is the quickest and easiest way to find it?
Well, they can certainly hop online, ndis.gov.au or claust.com.au, and people will be able to find some information there.
Great, thanks so much. Been interesting, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. So if anybody missed that information, then they can actually find us on Facebook, and you'll probably find all that information. If you
Yeah,
need
well,
it.
not only that, but of course, use the website, and if you don't know how to use the website, ask somebody who's younger. And keeping on the theme of taking care of things, guess who's up next? Kimberly Davis, who we haven't seen for a long time, and we're going to find out about the food on those reality TV shows. Back in a tick.
Honestly, I have. What? You sound like Father Christmas.
Oh, do I?
What's going
I'll
on?
audition. I've just been watching one of those cooking shows and I feel full already.
Oh, I know. They do that to you, don't they?
Do they? I don't know. Do people watch them and actually do you
Feel
get
hungry?
hungry watching those shows, or?
Oh, sometimes. Sometimes I think, oh no, I don't really want to try that.
Well, it's bothered me a little bit.
Why?
Because I think there's a lot of wastage of food, and that always bothers me because I'm a bit thing about, you know, not wasting stuff. So we thought we would reintroduce an old friend with the emphasis on...
Friend.
That's the one. Kimberly Douglas, welcome back. We haven't seen you for a couple of months.
No,
Absolutely. I'm pleased it's not the old bit. That's good. I don't want to be old. I want to stay young.
No, old friend. Old friend is
Okay,
good, though.
that's
the two
good.
words together
Okay.
are good.
Yes.
But not necessarily in all these cooking shows with all the butter that's used and all of the things
Yeah.
that we've all been told, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, that all seems to be all right. So the burning question really here is, are these cooking shows good for us with our intake of food, do you think?
Okay, well, that's a bit of a loaded question. I reckon there's some really good things about cooking shows and there's some not so good things. So
let's go for the good things.
let's go for the good things. Okay, so look, first of all, I think it's encouraging people where I think the older you get, the more staid in your ways you become. And I know the family I got brought up in, Mum cooked the same kind of meals all the time.
Did you get the same meal on a Monday and then next week, the Tuesday's the same?
Absolutely. The lamb chops one night, bolognese one night, and crumb chicken one night, and we rotate the whole thing, and occasionally a brand new meal would slip in, and well, it was heaven.
Oh, my mum was quite the opposite.
Right.
I can't remember ever having a repeat of anything, sort of
really?
a month.
Wow.
She tried everything. She loved cooking and tried everything. And I suppose would have been inspired for those programs. But we should explain who you are, what you are.
What I am, I'm a nutritionist.
Yes.
So, been
So
working.
you're qualified to speak about what we put in our mouth.
I hope so.
She's been doing it for a while.
Look, I've been in practice for over 20 years now.
You ever get it right?
And seen a lot, particularly the influence that the media can have. And I think it's good that you can come home and cook your boring tea and then sit and eat that while your crumb chicken and your lamb chops, while you're watching someone make, you know, a Thai something or a salmon. It gives you ideas, it broadens your horizon. and it gives you more ideas, particularly about vegetables. You know, a lot of the themes of these shows bring us into Asian themes or Indian themes, and also fruits and vegetables. People get quite bored with the carrots, potatoes, zucchini.
Boiled to the last nth degree.
What do you do with a beetroot? What do you do with
Cook
asparagus?
it in the microwave,
you know,
I would.
yeah. So I
It
think
doesn't
some.
cook there, I don't cook it.
No, there you go. And you leave it in the crisper till you don't know exactly what it was, and then it goes in the compost.
Problem, yeah.
So I think they broaden our horizons on what to cook and food prep, and so I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is I think it encourages, you know, there is a fair bit of food wastage. You know, I run quite a lot of orphanage and humanitarian stuff, and I do cringe with what goes in the bin and just the sheer wastage. So that's one side of it. The other thing is the amount of butter and sugar that goes in. Now, you've got to remember that, you know, this is just one dish. You are not going to eat like this all the time. You know, the meals that you
Come
see...
to my house more often.
Okay, well, that's the next show. We'll come there and but, you know, you're not going to be putting... You know, sometimes there's 250 grams of butter in one dish, and, you know, it's great for desserts because they're occasional. You're not going to have dessert all the time.
Yeah.
But some of the main courses were pretty loaded in rich things. Now, we've also done shows in the past that the way that we've been taught to eat is actually not been that great. So remember that healthy diet pyramid where we had one serve of protein up the top and a little bit of fat? Remember, we've all grown up with 5 serves of carb, a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat, and you know now that that's wrong, disproven. That healthy diet pyramid has only promoted more pre-diabetics in this country and more obesity than ever before. We had a lot of fibre, and so our bowels have been quite good, but having that sheer amount of carbohydrate has really caused another whole wave of, over the last 20 years, of health problems. So, you know, it's interesting that the protein's back, the butter's back, the nuts are back.
That is
They're
interesting.
good.
Good fats.
I like it. The good fats, the avocados, the olive oils, the Mediterranean diet, the paleo diet. There's one particular show on where one of them is really into paleo. And that's been a really good eye-opener for people who are like, what is that exactly? And why would I look at eating that kind of way? Are there some health benefits for me with my gene pool or my allergy for looking at eating that way?
So, you know, I think as Australians we are open to try different things because we are so multicultural and becoming, you know, the different
we're lucky,
cuisines
aren't
that
we?
we have.
We're lucky.
That we can try all these different foods. And then we do tend to probably stick with one in particular that we love
Suits
more than
your family.
You mean hamburger and fries?
No, I was actually thinking, I think, for me particularly, more Thai food. You know, all that fresh food.
With the
which is
herbs and the
all
aromatics.
yeah, which is just delicious.
Well,
and not too unhealthy.
Sure.
Well, the thing is, though, I suppose it's only the last few hundred years we've been eating processed food to the extent that we currently are now. I suppose what we're watching on these shows is food that is made from the raw ingredients and being processed into something.
That's right.
But it's not going through that next stage of then being frozen or tinned or however it's delivered to us through a supermarket. So I suppose in a lot of cases you're eating it fresh.
Sure.
If you're eating it at all. But those hosts on the program, I mean, if they were eating all of those samples of food, they all should be puddings by now.
Sure, but you also have to remember this is the whole thing about how media works is all those takes may be over just 2 weeks.
You mean bite, bite, spit, spit?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you will notice they only ever do a portion and then drop the plate on the floor so no one else can eat it or it goes in the bin or whatever happens.
Waste.
Waste it is. But, you know, they're only having a portion and you'd find on those days that they're not eating a lot of other food. They would have to watch. And some of their waistlines aren't exactly on par. No, that's right. So, look, I think these shows are good for giving people options. And, you know, a lot of people don't even know how to make basics like how do I make pasta? You know,
How do I open a can of baked beans and put it in the bread in the toaster? That's the thing. No?
But I like what
most
you...
people do that.
Oh, right, okay.
That's about all they do.
But I like what you said, that it shows people how to do some of the basics that we have got so processed, like making gnocchi. It's actually not that difficult. But if you see someone else do it, how not to do it, what works, what doesn't work. And then you can buy the book that most of us then just put on the bookshelf. I think a lot of these shows have been very good for book sales.
Yes.
And we sort of do it once or twice and use a few recipes and then go back to our crumb chicken and lamb chops. But
I don't know that there are any statistics as to whether these shows have changed our eating habits, though, or whether people just do have the baked beans on toast while they look at these exotic things on telly and think, oh, yes, that would taste nice as I'm eating my baked beans.
I think that happens a lot. But I do think people buy the books and they do try recipes in it, but I would probably put it to you, happy to be wrong, but they probably only take one or two out of the book that they've seen, seen prepared, I've got to make that. Because some of them are actually quite difficult. You know, there is a certain level that is an expected level of food presentation. You know, they say it's amateur, but a lot of these are not amateurs. You know, some of the bakers on some of these shows are awesome chefs and bakery experience. They've done it before.
Yeah.
They haven't been just knocking back chocolate brownies with grandma in the kitchen.
No.
They know how to, they've done patisserie courses and grown up in bakeries, and that's okay too, but it can give you that, oh my goodness, I can't do any of this.
Yes, well, that's to me a negative side
I
of
think
it,
so
an
too.
expectation that's too high to achieve for yourself. The boys behind the cameras, there's Declan standing there. Would you make any of those dishes, Declan?
No.
No. What would you have, Declan?
In a word, no. Baked beans on.
About beans and toast.
Beans and toast.
Toasty toasties,
There you go.
that's right.
There you go.
See, I get bored with them fairly quickly because it all takes too long to do to me.
But you're limited for time. I have to admit you do.
Well,
you are
I'm the
limited.
only one that's going to eat it usually
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
so
true.
consequently, I make stuff that I'm happy with. But I do like fresh fruit and vegetables. But when I get a bit stressed for time, I've discovered the frozen stuff. Now, as the frozen veggies often, they don't go off in the crisper in the bottom of the thing because they're fresh. Whack them in the microwave and in a few seconds you've got, you know,
Sure.
presumably fresh vegetables. But are they? Have we lost too much nutrition by freezing it?
Okay, well, you're going to lose more nutrition through heat. And so any form of heat you will direct, like canning, wok, stir fry, steaming, boiling, microwaving. As soon as you generate heat, you're killing nutrients. Now, if you're going to do frozen, the best thing to do is snap frozen. Now, there are lots of claims now that you can have a look where they'll say snap frozen peas or snap frozen. That means if they can get it fairly fresh and snap freeze it, you're locking the nutrients in. There's quite a bit of research showing right now that using frozen vegetables actually has still quite a good of nutrients. Now,
Is that also because they haven't gone limp in the crisper?
correct. But, you know, you wouldn't want to, for instance, get frozen cooked spinach and expect it to still be very high.
no,
Let me say that again, frozen cooked spinach. If you've generated
you bought
heat.
like a pre-made spinach pie or, you know, turnover
But
thing.
those frozen meals that you can get with everything.
Oh, I
in,
like
you know,
that.
It's like, yeah, because I think that's what my mother-in-law was
Sure.
using before she went to the nursing home. But she would buy because it was easier for her and being single. She could pop that
So
in the oven.
if it's been heated already or prepared, cooked, the vegetables are cooked, you have generated heat and your nutrient levels are going to be down.
Wouldn't be that.
Kimberly, thank you for coming back and talking to us. We've got a little bit more time after the commercial break and we have some more questions.
Okay.
So please join us in a tick with more from Kimberly Douglas. So we're here with Kimberly Douglas. I know you have a meaningful question.
I'll just wait for you to carry on like you normally do, Kimberly.
So, Kimberly...
No, but we've been talking about all the issues with wasting food and, you know, how much nutrition is left in food when you cook it. What else?
Well,
just about
it's these weight loss programs. I mean,
Yeah.
the telly shows doing things.
The pros and cons for those.
Yeah.
Well, look, there's quite a lot of them now on fat loss and weight loss and body changing.
Yes.
And look, there's some benefits. I think, first of all, it gives people a picture that if you're going to lose weight, it encompasses a whole lot of things. It isn't just exercise. It isn't just doing diet. It is a whole monster that you need to address.
It doesn't just fall off in a couple of weeks. You have to give it time.
Yeah, so I like, because people who normally would never go to a dietitian or never go to a personal trainer get a picture of, if I started an exercise program, started changing my diet, dealt with some of the monsters in my head, got some coaching, dealt with some things, that's good. The flip side is, I find that I have a lot of people present in the practice with a very unusual and not real perception of what weight loss is or fat loss. They think that it's normal if I haven't lost 6 or 8 kilo in the first week of the program, and but I've been doing this for a month and I've only lost 8 kilo. People's perception of it doesn't happen like that.
Do you know, the thing that bothers me too is when they have their so-called rewards, so often they're the foods they shouldn't be eating.
Absolutely.
And on that thought, we need to say goodbye. Last thing from you about keeping healthy. How would you sum it up in a sentence?
Everything in moderation.
Brilliant.
Don't be dramatic one way or the other. Straight down the middle with everything.
Thanks, Kimberly.
And speaking of being
Words of
straight down the
wisdom.
middle, it's time to say
Farewell.
adieu. Keep yourself nice until we see you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.